Hi, my name is Mansing. I'm from Hatch. We're an impact-driven organization that wants to bring growth careers for everyone. What you're looking at is an online webinar, Build Your Design Career with Bold at Work that we held on 15 May as part of our Digital Pathways for All series. Our guest speakers, Clarice, wizard and creator at Bold at Work, and Ruoyi, seeker and connector at Bold at Work, challenge perspectives in a short workshop to empower youth to navigate their first steps in a design career. We also had Jeremiah, founder of Ungram.co, who joined. Jeremiah shared about his journey from working as an in-house marketer to an agency setting and then finally deciding to start his own business. We hope you enjoyed the webinar and feel free to leave your comments below if you have any
Get on with
questions.
it. Together with us today, we have Clarice and Ruoyi from Bold at Work. Bold at Work prepares young people for the future of work. Leveraging on its very unique approach of the Self Us Now framework, they map the stories that become the sources of innovativeness in everyone's work and lives. Today, they will take us through a few interactive activities to uncover our strengths and values necessary to navigating the digital space. So Clarice and Ruoyi, would you take us through the framework? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ben. So hi everyone. In a bit, you'll probably see me on the main screen spotlight like now. So before we get started, I thought what would be nice is if we could start with some interactive stuff. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen, and I would like to encourage all of you. Let me see. Okay, I'd like to encourage you guys to go to the top portion of your screen, and there's a function called annotate under view options. Click on annotate and place where you think you are right now on how clear you are in embarking on a digital career path. Okay, so on a scale of 0 to 10, so 0 means not at all, I'm not sure what this is about, and 10 being wow, yes, this is the thing that I'm going to do for the entire of my life. Get your annotation and then just click or stamp your name, your initials anywhere along the screen. Okay. And as you guys are doing that, I'm going to just share a bit more about Bold at Work and then get you through the entire 30 minutes that you're going to have with us. So my name is Clarice, and together with me is Ruoyi, which you will see her in a bit. We're going to share with you an interesting framework that we have been bringing through youth participants through the 2 years plus that we have started. So we are actually situated in the West, and we have a studio innovation space. So if you see some of the host background that it's behind us, the virtual background, is actually the space that we have in the West. And we run a lot of future of work career design workshops to enable young people to clarify their understanding of their values, what they care about, as well as the things that they are good at, so the strengths and the values. So today we're going to bring you through a very short exercise just to have you have certain clarity of whether this is something that you are looking at discovering in the next part of your career, or as you're embarking or transiting from school to work, or what's next. Okay. So very nice. We have seen majority of you kind of hovering between the middle to the third quarter portion. So maybe if I were to guess, between 5 to 7. And this is really nice and exciting to see, because I guess today's webinar will be very apt for you guys to further clarify whether this is something that you're looking at. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next thing. Oh, wait, let me clear screen. Clear screen. Clear all drawings. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, today we are really going to explore this framework called Self Us Now that Bold at Work has been exploring. Specifically for today, we are going to explore the element of self. And why is self so important? Because it serves as the foundation for us to clarify who we are and what we believe in. So every time when things change around the world, people are telling you that there are digital trends and there are things that you should catch up with. We look for things externally to validate whether this is something we should go for and stuff. But what's fundamentally more important and serves as your anchor and compass as you move through the different phases of what's going to happen is the aspect that is internally within yourself. So we are asking you to explore your values and your strengths in this upcoming exercise. Okay, so the next bit, I'm going to get you guys to actually take out your phone. So we designed this Muses of Future filter that is available on Instagram. So if you have your phone with you, you could open your IG, under IG story, search for Bowl SG, and there's the Muses of Future filter there. So what you do, like all those spinning things that happen at the top of your head, you will actually have a card that depicts your strength, your dispositions, and the possible space or industry or kind of like the sector that you could possibly explore design in. Okay, so if you look at my virtual background, there's actually a card here that I just did before this session. So this card actually talks about the world of fire. So fire is one that is very fast-paced, that it is very challenging and moves fast. So you would probably think that it's an MNC, a big company and stuff like that. And then you have a character here, right? This character is actually one of 4 characters, and it's actually a jester. So a jester is one that appreciates flexibility. It's one that also loves to poke and tease out what's hidden within the community or within the space. And the strengths listed below are basically strengths that could speak to you and explore your current context that you're in and things that you may possibly be good at. So if you search the filter over at IG, you can get your own customized one. Otherwise, today we're going to try doing a random pick based on the numbers 1 to 16. Okay, so we're going to do a very manual approach because I'm not sure how many of you here actually have the filter function and are actually doing it. So just to walk you guys through, there is number 1 to 16 here. Each of it represents a different values and a different strength. So you could just randomly pick one. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. Pick 1 to 16. Just pick one card. I don't need to pick too many. And in a bit, remember the number in your head. And I'm going to flash the card out. Okay. So this reveals 1 to 16 and the various cards that are possible of your strengths and the different disposition that you have. So if you look at it, there's different worlds of earth, fire, water, and air. And each of it has its own strengths. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys can see it clearly.
But can you zoom in a bit more?
Okay.
I think it's a bit hard for everyone to see. Like the word's a bit small.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me zoom in.
Is this better for everybody? Yes, I can see.
Okay, very good. I'm just going to do a slow scroll so that you guys can maneuver. Okay. So in the world of Earth,
can you maybe scroll a bit slowly, so that we can see it there.
Can. Okay, so in the world of Earth, basically it's about groundedness. So in the world of Earth, if you're considering design, you're thinking about in sectors like the public service, things in the educational space. These are strengths and qualities that are able to be grounded and move things into the different avenues. Then of course fire, which I've mentioned. The world of fire is one of fast-paced, the MNC, and the qualities that are listed below in each of these various cards kind of represent the kind of strengths that you could consider within the space. And then you have the world of water. So water, like in the days where, people live in kampong and stuff, water brings people together. So if you have the card of the water, basically means that you could thrive in a people sector space, so community sector space, and produce like design elements and stuff over there. And lastly, it is the air. So the air space, it is the creative space. So regardless of where you go and what departments you are in when you're exploring your design career, the air space is one that always generates ideas. It's a very generative kind of environment. And you think of this is in the full-fledged PR agency kind of industry or your big media companies and stuff. Okay. So this is just a very quick tool. If you like, you can always head on to the IG and search for it, and it actually produces one card different days depending on the question that you're asking and the strengths or values that you could be exploring. Okay. Over here is just a very quick synopsis of what we just explored. So the 4 dispositions, the various elements of the spaces that you're in, and the possible setup of companies or spaces that you could explore. Okay, so now we will actually synthesize this into coming back into this framework that we're talking about. Okay, the self-ask now, and how do we then, with our strengths and value, craft out a short blurb or short context of who we are, because every time when we meet different people and we are heading out into the working world, that kind of holds the value of um, who we are and what we want to put forth in the world. So I'm going to invite Ruoyi at this point in time. I'm going to stop share. So Roy is going to do a sharing of a blurb that she has been crafting and practicing for a bit. And within the blurb, it actually contains the strengths and values of what she cares about. So as you guys hear into or listen into her story, I'd like you guys to take note, a mental note, and be an active listener of the values and strengths that you hear. And Roy will also do a sharing of the card that she picked and how she integrates both into this short blurb. That could also be something that you craft with as you meet your future prospects or as you enter a different space. Okay. So Roy, if you are ready, you can switch on your mic.
Yeah, I almost forgot about my switching on my mic. Hello, everyone. So I'm Ruoyi, also from Bold at Work. So today, Clarice gave me a task of like trying to find choose a card, right? And so the Muses card, I think you some people who are seeing it for the first time probably thinking, how is this? Like, is this some tarot card, like woo-woo thing? I think the purpose of the card is really a tool for you to, because all these values in a sense are present within us, right? So it is a tool to kind of challenge yourself to dig deep into your past lived experiences and to convey different values depending on the circumstances. So today the card that I picked was actually an air jester card. So I don't know whether anyone can remember, but some of the qualities that were listed on the card were things like creative, enthusiastic, confident, and imaginative. So these were some qualities that were on the card. So I kind of challenged myself to dig into my past history and see whether I could kind of craft a short story of who I am with these qualities in mind for you guys today. So now I'm going to start, yeah? Okay, so when I was young, maybe 5 or 6 years old, I used to spend many afternoons play acting with my cousin, Chloe. And I remember every time it was my turn to choose which character we wanted to play, I would choose for us to play beggars. And much to my cousin's exasperation, because she always wanted to be a princess. So we would create obstacles for ourselves. So rules like no stepping on like the leaves because it's fire, or we will design missions where we would go scavenging for food from the fridge. And I loved imagining that I was someone else. The more different from the actual me, the better. And I would read books or watch TV shows that taught me about the idiosyncrasies and quirks and life stories of the character I was playing. So when I was 18, I applied for a SAF scholarship, admittedly not for altruistic reasons, but really because I was very curious about what basic military training was like. And this was before the days of our boys to men, and I was from a family of girls, so we never talk about national service. But I was always quite curious to find out what 50% of my cohort would be going through, because like I remember when I was in JC, a lot of my guy friends, when they received the letters of enlistment, right, then they'll be like, "Aya, sian la, like jialat la, da da da," and I'll be like, "Huh, like why, right?" And I figured that because I love the outdoors, I like working in teams and meeting people who are different from me, that I would be all right. And I thought a career in the SAF would be an interesting experience, and I was right. And I remember the first day of my basic military training, which during my time for girls was in officer cadet school. I volunteered to go throw rubbish at the cookhouse, which is like the canteen, which was about 100 meters away. And I happily took the bag of rubbish and I like sauntered down the corridor, swinging the bag, and someone shouted at me from across the road. A senior commander was like, "Cadet, come!" And I didn't even know what I had done wrong, but I ran over, and he was like, "Why aren't you marching?" And I was like, "Sorry, sir, but I don't know how to march." And I think I stunned him. But I think I was very lucky because I found out that it was my first day in the army and that I really had not been taught how to march. And he told me to just run to the rubbish chute at the cookhouse and go back to my dormitory. But slowly I learned how to march. I learned how to like shoot. I learned how to care for myself and how to lead, excel, and overcome, right? And I have since quit the SAF about 2 years ago. But I never once regretted the decision to join. It taught me that as long as I tried, even if it was something totally out of my comfort zone, I could learn to not just survive, but to thrive. And it has been almost a year and a half since I started working at Bold, working in a completely new industry, having to pick up new skills, grow new networks, speak a new lingo. And there are days when I feel very inadequate, but then I remind myself to be bold at work. Okay, so that is the very short introduction of who I am. So if I can kind of invite you guys, if any kind soul wants to kind of just feedback, like what were some of the qualities and the values that you heard through my story, then you can just type it out in the chat. So it kind of serves as, like for me, it's a feedback of whether I had clearly articulated who I am, whether it's, because in my mind it's clear, right? Like, well, I have this story, but I don't know whether how people receive it. Yeah, so thank you. Some of you have kind of given your comments or enthusiasm about resilience. Yeah, keep them coming. Yeah, adventurous. Thank you. Yeah. So I think the purpose of this short story of self demo is Clarice and I just really wanted to share this idea that actually why, a lot of times we say that we have this value, right? But then like it's just a word. So you can say, oh, I am a like justice warrior. But if you don't act in a way that exemplifies that, or you don't have a specific example or experience that you can call back, then it kind of begs the question of whether it is a true value, whether it really matters to you, whether it really exists within you. So we think that stories are really shared, the lived experiences that we all have, right? So we all have different stories, and because of our different stories and experiences, we kind of exemplify different qualities. And it's very easy to write a story. So I think a challenge, an invitation that Clarice and I have for you guys today is, after the short demo, where hopefully we demonstrated to you that, hey, actually you can tell people, you can really clearly articulate who you are and what are some of your values in a very, very short amount of time, and just the time it takes for a story. I think we would like to invite you guys to kind of recall what were some of the high points, low points, or turning points in your life, right? And using that turning point, then what were some of the things you uncovered and realized about yourself? So in the second slide that Clarice shared just now, I think Sarah was saying that it was a bit small, you couldn't see. We had a framework called the challenge choice outcome framework. And so if for people who are, maybe you have never written a story of your life before, that's something that you can consider. Yeah, so if you see at the bottom, there's the challenge choice outcome. Really, what is a challenge that you have experienced in your life before? What was the choice you made, and what was the outcome? So it's like a normal storybook kind of flow, right? And we all have choices, right? So but it's really in the choice that you make that you kind of live out the quality that you say matters to you. Yeah, so we kind of, so this is just a simple framework that we leave with you guys, this idea of challenge, choice, outcome. And if you see this other framework too, values, emotions, action, it's also something that you can think about when you are writing your story of self, because what is the value that you want to convey? Why do you use stories? And the reason why we use stories is because I think stories can convey and trigger emotions in others, right? So as I was sharing, I don't know whether any of you picked out any details that really resonated with you, but that's also one of the reasons why we think through stories you can kind of connect better with others. Okay, so that's one part on the story of self part. Yeah, and I think earlier, but for those of you who have a chance to, or maybe you still don't really know where to start from, we can invite you to look at try that Muses card and use it as a prompt to kind of challenge yourself to dig deep and find out what are some qualities that you you may not know that you have, but actually you have one, right? Yeah. And then I think we also have some, I think the purpose of the story of self, right? It's also as you are writing your story and telling your story, we also encourage you to tell it to other people. Don't just keep it to yourself. So, I mean, I'm just talking to like 30 other strangers that I don't know, right? And telling them about my life story. It's quite scary. But I think it's only when you articulate it out and you get feedback from others that you will know whether it is an authentic story, right? Because sometimes when you tell them, people don't get it. That means it's like, yeah, maybe what you think you are saying is not really what other people are experiencing. Yeah. Thank you, Sarah, for the clap. Yeah, and I think that's one. The story of self helps to articulate and help you clarify really what are the values that matter to you, what are some things that you will speak up for, and then I think maybe a little something more practical is also it's a chance for you to practice a pitch. So basically, you go out and you pitch yourself to someone who's going to hire you when there's a new project you want to do, and you need to kind of put yourself out there. So the purpose of the story of self is also it's also a good practice. Yeah, and don't worry if you feel like, my story is like so, yeah, because I mean, I've done this for 1 year, right? So I've written my story of self over and over again. And there are many, many stories that you can explore. So don't feel like it needs to be a perfect story. It just needs to be an authentic and real story. So if I can pass this time back to Clarice.
That was a nice pass. I thought just to wrap up the whole point of like you considering your design career, especially when we did the first exercise of all of you who placed where you guys think you are at along that line, and when we see majority of you is the range between 5 to 7, that is also a very nice sweet spot for you to ask yourself, why are you there? Are you there because the industry is the next big thing? Or are you there because there's a certain strength and quality within yourself that you're seeking to provide or share with the world? And if so, what were the instances and the stories or experiences that you had been through before you came to this decision or this idea that, oh yeah, maybe I am creative, or maybe I have the gift of sharing something to the world visually? What were the little incidents that lead you to come to this conclusion or this idea, and have that crafted and pieced together into really a short blurb or a short synopsis. And the more you do it, the more you clarify whether this is a path that it's for you, or even if you do not clarify, it gives you further clues of what you do not wish to have, or where you do not wish to go. And each time, it is a great practice for you to gain clarity. So as you enter the next part of this webinar, right, when you'll be hearing more about the industry, I would like to encourage all of you to think of that strength or quality that you think you have. Think of something that you really care about, and also try to process that with a particular incident or story that has occurred through your life. And hold that within yourself as you hear the different trends and things that will be shared with you. And that will serve your anchor as to whether this is a pursuit that you should endeavor, this is something that you should ask further, and always stay curious within that space, because your quality and your strength can transcend across different sectors, different spaces, even if it's not in one particular area that may be available today. Okay, so otherwise, thank you all for joining Bold at Work for this 30-minute short section. The Muses filter will always be there. If you can't see the blurb, actually it's up on our website, so we'll probably share the link and stuff later as well, so you can view it and get more details of it. Otherwise, thank you all so much.
We forgot one point.
Yes.
So if anyone after this you craft out your story of self and you want to kind of just put up a blurb, you can also tag us at BoldSG. You can put it out, type it out on your IG stories or something and tag us. I think we would really love to hear your excerpts from your stories of self.
Maybe you guys can like walk us through how to use the filters on Instagram, and we can try it out right now.
Okay. So if you guys have your phone, you can tap on Instagram. I'm just going to share that page since it wasn't very clear just now. Hang on, yeah. Okay. Let me share screen. Okay, so this is how you get your filter, right? Open your IG story and then you swipe all the way where you have that magnifying glass search function and then search for bold SG. Okay, so once you search for bold SG, there's only one filter that we have lah. Haha. So tap on that filter and then you just hold it. So you need to switch your camera such that it's front facing, yeah. If not, nothing is gonna happen. And then you hold on to the button, the record button, and then you let it run and it will produce one card. Okay, so you could try it now. Actually, if you guys have the results of your card, okay, how should we do this? You can type it on the chat. So type the what's that? The industry, the world.
The card you get, yeah.
Yeah, the character or the strength. I just realized, okay, or you could show your screen and we can see everybody's card. Okay, either way, or you can tag us at GoSG. Is everybody?
That we also have the instructions on our IG, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There.
So if y'all couldn't couldn't get it just now, yeah, you can also later on after this webinar when you have time and you want to explore, you can find the instructions on our IG account. Bold SG. It's like we like marketing ourselves. Yeah. Mm.
How about the hatch team? Oh, have you guys done the filter?
Yeah. If not, yeah, I think that's all we have for today. If anyone wants to kind of also you have questions about the story of self, questions about this Muses thing, you want to find out more, you can also DM us. Yeah.
Sorry, Clarice. I think maybe of my Wi-Fi, it was breaking up a bit earlier when you said something about the industry and then the quality. Could you just repeat that part? Because I didn't just hear, I just missed that part.
I see. Okay, so you're referring to the Muses card, right?
No. The part where you were talking about before you wanted to hand the time over to Hatch.
Oh wow! Now I need to dig back in my memory. Okay, if I remember, I think it is regardless of. Okay, you may be interested in design, and design is a quality that or a skill set that you have always been very attuned with. You fall in love with like beautiful stuff, and expression has always been your thing. And typically, people always think that because of that, I should enter a design company or PR company, a media company. And I guess what I was trying to share was that in every different sector, in every different space, there is a space for design to be within. Whether you're designing visuals, whether you're designing human experiences, try to expand your perspective of where design can be applicable within this space. So that transferable skill of design, if you consider the various different sectors and industries available for you, and you challenge yourself to expand the notion of what design jobs could look like, it could actually broaden your range of the current expectations that you may have of what's available for you. So I guess that was, if I remember correctly.
Okay. As in, so it's not industry specific, but quality specific lah.
Yeah. So qualities, or rather, it's transferable skills across various different sectors.
And then you asked us to think about like why we are in the industry we are in, right? Was that the... Okay, got it. Okay, thanks for recapping.
No problem.
Does anybody have any more questions? Actually, we have maybe about 3 more minutes. You can just pump your questions into the chat box and then you can see what you want to... Clarice and Roy, you can see what you want to take up.
Yep. If there's any questions, any clarifications, or even anything that you'd like to share about what you guys have heard, Roy's story, you can continue typing.
Why are you smirking, Clarice?
You caught me.
Oh, okay.
This is
Yes.
a 4-part series.
Okay,
Hatch,
so
is that for you?
just to answer Joseph, right? So Joseph is asking, so is this a 4-part series? Yes, this is the first out of a 4-part series. We'll be touching on different topics. So this is not actually going to be DM all the way through or UI UX all the way through, but we'll be touching on getting different people in and to talk through like what their different experiences are in the digital industry. Yeah.
Putri, thank you for your feedback. That it's a good way to discover our strengths. Yeah, so do it. Yeah, try it.
I think
So
one thing also is that beyond just sharing story, is also listening to the feedback that comes with it. Because oftentimes we live in our own bubble and we only tell the story in our head many, many times. But if we hear what people also perceive of our story and just embrace the multiplicity that comes out of it, it could also offer a different perspective of who we can be and what we could also do. So yeah, start sharing and crafting stories. What do you love about working at Bold at Work? Roy, answer.
Clarice. I love working with the team, yeah, because we have a very small team at Bold, and I think we are quite I don't know. I think we get along very, I mean, the energy is very positive in a sense. Like, so we are just, we just we're very experimental, maybe because it's a very small team, right? So we kind of have to do everything. So we just experiment, we try, and it's better to try and fail than to never have tried at all. Yeah, so
Okay, thank you so much, Clarice and Roy. Maybe I'll just take Joseph's question like very quickly. So Joseph is asking, so what is our main medium of communication? Like how do we get you the Zoom links, right? We are only disseminating our Zoom links through by email. So if you would like to get on the maybe one is actually will be better for one to answer this.
Sure. No problem. Thank you so much for your comment, Joseph, and for your interest in this workshop. So for all of you who are interested to join for the rest of the workshops, please feel free to just continue signing on to the link. We have a bit.ly that is on our social media, and you can sign up for the rest of the links. So all the different Zoom meeting IDs are different for all the 4, and you will receive an email from us, and you can find it on our social media. There's a link on social media on the days itself, so you can see it and you can just join. Okay?
One thing.
Yes.
So if there's one or two that we can't make it because of time, are you guys making the webinars recording available?
Yes. So now we are currently recording the session, which is you will notice in like one of the emails that we said that we seek understanding that if let's say you're not comfortable, you're free to switch off your screen.
Right.
But we are recording the session now, so we will probably schedule the posting of the
So
recordings.
the recordings will be made public, or it will be emailed to us individually?
It will be posted on our social media, so do follow us, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Thank you so much, Mansing, for answering the questions. And thank you again, Clarice and Roy, for taking us through that whole framework. I hope you guys have a better understanding of yourself, and hope that you all will continue to think about how you are articulating the stories that you share. So please follow Bowl on the IG and Facebook so you can like go and use all their features and find out more about the workshops that they conduct, or just to check out their beautiful space in Jurong West when circuit breaker is over. So for those that join us,
Sorry, it's Jurong East.
Sorry, Jurong East. My bad. I should know this. For those that join us already, thank you for joining us for the first installment of the Digital Pathways for All webinar series. Clarice and Roy from Bold at Work have taken us through an exercise to understand ourselves. And now I would like to invite our next guest, Jeremiah, for the next portion. Okay.
Hey guys, hello.
Hello, so Jeremiah is the founder of Ungrump, a marketing and design agency that specializes in the F&B industry. He's also a mentor at Faster Capital, a virtual incubator, and an avid gigging musician. This
Yes.
portion will be conducted through a chat style where I'll be asking Jeremiah some questions about his journey into the digital pathway. So, welcome, Jeremiah. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a
Hi
privilege to
guys.
have you here.
How are you guys? How are you guys? How's everybody holding up? Can you hear me?
Maybe can everybody hear Jeremiah? Okay, good. Awesome.
Yes,
Maybe
all of you can hear me?
Maybe you guys can put a thumbs up if you can hear all of us.
Okay. Thank you so much. Because I'm not sure if I'm loud or soft or...
It's good.
Okay, great. Okay, so thanks for having me. Okay, all of you know my name is Jeremiah, so you guys can call me Jerry for short. And I've been working in the marketing industry for the past decade, about 10 years, yeah, since I graduated at 22. So I did my degree, I did a diploma in IT, actually, doing programming and stuff. But whatever I learned is now obsolete from poly because that's how the IT industry moves. Back then we were learning God knows which version of HTML, and then now it's already HTML5. But still, you just need to look at the codes and study a little bit, understand which codes are obsolete, and so on and so forth. So my 10 years have been pretty crazy. It's taken me, I spent like the first 5 years telling myself that I should be working for different bosses, different companies. Actually, all along, when I came out to work, my pathways, I didn't expect to. I was thinking of doing marketing, but I didn't expect to get into it so quickly because the year after I graduated, I spent a full year doing music. So I was taking part in competitions. I was playing shows across Southeast Asia, working with different bands, writing music, playing in bars and all that, and also teaching. So I spent all that whole year just playing until I landed myself a 4-night residency in Sentosa, and that's when the club owner approached me to actually work for him. So I started as an in-house marketer. Yeah. Oh yes, if you guys have any questions at any point, just stop me to ask, okay? Because sometimes I can be a bit long-winded. Yeah. So throughout my entire career, and right before COVID-19, put us on this spot, I had the best of both worlds because learning to work in both an in-house position and agency position, I actually realized I took the things that I liked about both and put them both together. Yeah. So my clients actually they spend a lot. I spend a lot of time with them. Like I see them every week. I'm on the phone with them at least 3 days a week, just to maintain close contact. And this is because being an in-house marketer, you are only representing one company, which also means that your marketing scope is actually not as heavy as what an agency does, right? But it also requires you to be business-minded. Every decision you make affects the business. And in most cases, the marketing team in a business will actually sort of put a standard to you and convert it to sales, even though it's indirect. Yeah. So that's actually the really important part about being an in-house marketer. You learn to work across departments. You learn to try to, especially for me in the F&B industry, we learn to tie across how operations and marketing come together. Actually, this is a very big problem that most companies face in the F&B industry. They cannot get along. And people who are in the marketing or what we call in the head office, they do not see what goes on the ground. They don't pick up on problems that are on the ground as well, unless they go and see for themselves. So this is what I mean by being more business-minded. You learn to look at the whole business instead of just your marketing team. Yeah. Because sometimes if your marketing is very strong, okay, your publicity is very strong, what happens is it passes down to the operations team who is supposed to execute whatever you're promoting, and if they don't deliver, it backfires. very, very greatly. Yeah. And all that publicity turns into bad publicity, which sometimes you would rather not have. In other cases, basically learning to see what are the problems on the ground, things in operations that you would really take time to understand, things like costing, for us, we only care about marketing budget. I only think about, like, when the boss talks to me, he's like, here's the marketing budget of the year. I'll give you 3% of the entire company's revenue, which amounts to maybe like 150, 200,000 or so. And I'll have to make wise with it, so know how to spend the money wisely, spread it across the months, which are peak seasons to actually spend more, which are off seasons that you don't spend as much, and so on and so forth. And aside from that, that's my budget. I have to plan promotions with the operations team and check with them. So my biggest question to ask them is this promotion feasible? Will it affect your costing? Because if the promotion basically ends up with us gaining a lot of publicity, but we are not really profiting, does it make sense to go ahead and do with such a promotion? So it really, really is that trying to balance the scales between the business and the marketing goals, because sometimes we throw out things like 50% off, and honestly, if I'm only making like 20 cents from a certain sale, for example, if I'm trying to sell a beer, the average cost of a Guinness pint is probably $5.80, and certain bars are selling it at $6 or $7. So they barely make anything, but they are banking on the fact that I want you to step through my door and the profit comes from something else. So they are hoping that, okay, for example, if I drive traffic to the bar, somebody comes in, they have a Guinness pint, the bar only makes 20 cents. And that 20 cents doesn't even cover anything else across the business. So after I left the F&B industry, my first two jobs, I actually went to an agency, and that agency, I was running the agency for the boss back then for about a year and a half, actually about a year. And after that, I went back in-house as the head of marketing for a restaurant group, which specialized in both bistro and fine dining. And it actually, the whole idea behind it, that was very hard to get around, because the marketing tactics that you put forth to both ends are completely different. The styling, like earlier Bold at Work, they talked about design, right? And design as a story. So when, for example, I look at these two brands that I was representing as the head of marketing, I look at one outlet, which is a bistro. It's chill out, it's fun, it's family dining. They're more about food than beer. And then the other establishment is a full-on fine dining concept where it's a 6-course meal, and business was good. So over there, it's more of wine and dine. This whole style of marketing and trying to weave a story about the business is a lot more intricate. I have to talk through the entire team, actually. I talk to the chefs, I talk to the managers. We try to understand all the seasons, seasonal wine, seasonal products, trying to get all this put together dishes that actually we think the general public may like and would come back for. That's the main thing. And then the style of photography. So back then, as head of marketing, I actually took a lot of time to study photography and do the photos myself, because I was already proficient with all the Adobe tools for graphic design, and it certainly came useful. I never got the chance to learn Adobe in poly when I did IT or when I was doing my degree in communications. So we never ever had the chance to do it, but I had to pick up the skills on my own. Thankfully, my wife, now my wife, back then she was my girlfriend, she was a design grad, and actually she was, in some part, she was my teacher for Adobe stuff. I started in just doing Photoshop, fooling around with Photoshop a lot. And after that, she introduced me to Adobe Illustrator, which actually I've started to use a lot more. And then after that, I started to get the hang of other tools like Adobe InDesign. And I think those three tools are the main things that I use. Sometimes I'll use Adobe Premiere for video editing, but in most cases, actually, client work doesn't require something so complex. All right. So I'm just going to stop here. If you guys have any questions, you guys can ask first. Then after that, I'll go on to like some valuable lessons that I learned and some of the biggest challenges that I face running my own business. If you guys have any questions, just fill it in the chat segment, no problem. How has COVID-19 changed the way I'm marketing? Okay, let's question by question. I think COVID has really impacted the F&B business greatly. Prior, maybe around this time last year, 65% of my clients were F&B. So I was doing marketing for largely F&B. And just 2 days ago, I lost my last F&B client. Yeah. So it's really a very bad impact. I would see that actually most of these guys, they really struggled with costing, and they couldn't stay afloat. So the businesses shut down one by one, and of course they terminate vendors first before they actually terminate their own staff. But the way that I market now, it's actually just months prior, the rest of my clients, I onboarded all of them to transition into e-commerce, pretty much shifting their operations into an e-commerce system. For example, one of my clients is an events company. I also play music for them. And it's very interesting because what happens with them is that he used to, you know how the events industry works. They go out, they meet clients and they make pictures, they go for meetings and all that. So I told him, let's revise the way it's going to get done. We are going to put out your services as bookable products across the website. And people can simply go in, click. It started with a very simple idea. He wanted the website as his price guide for clients to actually reference. So his sales staff, all they need to do is bring an iPad with them, go for a meeting, turn on the iPad, show them the price list, show them the range of products. And that's how everybody was engaging. Then I told him, I said, why don't you get clients to just book directly from the web system since the platform is already there? It works perfectly, you know. And a lot of them, they were initially a bit resistant because there is a lot of work to do when you onboard to an online platform. I had to basically get all the graphic design done. And in the events industry, they love to steal each other's pictures actually. So your light setups, your audio setups, they just rip each other's pictures off. So he had to watermark everything. He had to brand all his images so that they cannot be reused. And eventually, I think now it's a bit quiet, but he's already starting to get inquiries from shopping malls and all the government projects to actually start getting back online. Aside from that, some of my F&B clients, like I work with a coffee supplier, they were the last one I just got. They just gave me the bad news a few days ago, but that's okay. What happened was I've already had the shop with them for a long time. It's been 3 years since we established the web store. And that was never their main focus because a bulk of their clients are on a standard supply model where every month I order maybe like, I commit to 10 kilos of coffee this month. or 20 kilos of coffee this month, offices and restaurants and cafes alike. So that whole industry transformed because F&B started dying, and I was telling them to start shifting their products from a more business B2B based to a B2C based. Yeah, that's where the real money came from. Although B2C means that you are selling less, but it also means that you can mark up your pricing and you can profit that much more because you remove the middleman. Right. So that's really how COVID has impacted the way we market. Everything is focused on web. I haven't really done a sales pitch through Zoom, but I'm in the process of learning how to become a virtual classroom manager. So production and all that. So it's pretty interesting learning how to use not just Zoom, but some other platforms as well. And thankfully, last year, I think all of you might want to consider as well. This one's government sponsored, not exactly sponsored, government subsidized, the ACLP certification, which is pretty much train the trainer kind of cert. It's a very useful cert if you're thinking about going into corporate training or adult education, because it equipped me with so many digital tools aside from just Zoom, things like Nearpod, things like Kahoot, all these digital tools that we use for teaching and interacting with clients. It really, really created a huge impact in the way they conduct virtual sessions to make it more interactive, keeping people engaged. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next few questions. Was I spending all my time learning Adobe tools, or were you managing it alongside with other commitments? That one, it's Anna. I think that one is a lot more of a learning on the job. I think once you get the hang of basic Adobe framework or tools, you know all the shortcut keys. I think that's actually one of the most important things to be efficient when you're designing. And whenever I came to a point where I want to achieve something, for example, create, what's the most annoying thing? Okay, back then, creating a gold texture. Usually when we create a gold texture and we try to select a color, it just turns out to be a dirty brown. Yeah, it looks like toilet water lah. But pretty much, you can Google. There's a lot of pointers. I have a design master at home, so I tend to ask my wife a lot of times when she's available. But sometimes I just get through it on my own. And the real issue was learning to know what tools were used for what purposes. So for example, if I want to create a print poster, right? Most people will use it for Photoshop. But truth be told, what we can achieve in Photoshop within an hour can be done on Illustrator in 20 minutes. And the beauty of using Illustrator is that there's no loss of resolution. Yeah. Photoshop is strictly a photo editing tool. You can use it in many ways. I think guys who build their own memes tend to do that a lot. And then there's the famous guy who people request for him to Photoshop funny things in and out of the photos. Or could you make me less awkward and stuff like that? Yeah. So that's actually Photoshop itself. You can use it to enhance pictures. You can use it to edit pictures, clean up photos. I get a lot of assignments from photographers actually when they have like a whole bunch of photographs that they need to edit. They actually send me the hard ones to actually edit out. So I've done editing for like BMW, a lot of contracts, and construction companies also. They shoot the showroom and then they'll tell me things like, oh, can you remove the reflection from the glass? BMW one is a little bit harder. There's reflection in the car door. You have to learn how to slowly patch the reflection away, remove the leaves on the ground and all that stuff. It's basically stuff that it's like, if I'm in that situation, I'd rather sweep the leaves away. But unfortunately, it was a windy day, so the photographer said he tried, but it just didn't work. Yeah. Okay, transitioning from music to marketing, there was no real transition. I was just working more. I spent my days in an office job, working 9 to 6, and I work in the clubs from 7:30 to midnight. So that's my daily routine. Yeah, I mean, it leaves you extremely tired. So you work an average of 15 hours a day, 75 hours a week. And then I would still teach music on weekends because some of my students still wish to continue. Yeah. And yeah, it's rewarding though. When you are playing music outside of your office job, you're angry, you play a rock song, you play something grungy. It really works. Therapeutic too. And you'll never get insomnia, trust me, because you're so tired. Yeah. Okay. How do I practice learning Adobe tools? Most of the work, actually, I already had work to do. So it wasn't so much of telling myself, okay, I'm going to create something nice, but it's more of my clients tell me, can you build me a catalog? Then I'm like, all right, what should I build a catalog with? So my very first catalog was hideous. It was for the coffee company, and it was built on Adobe Illustrator, which is actually not a great tool for catalogs because there's no alignments, which after that, the second version and the third versions came out on InDesign. Yeah, after my wife. So this happens a lot at home. I'm working on a design on my computer. She walks past me and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm designing a catalog. And she's like, why are you using Illustrator? And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, what's happening? Yeah. And then after that, she's like, do you know if you use Illustrator, you have these formats. So if you use InDesign basically it's perfect for building publications, catalogs, because you can create pages, page layouts, a master page layout, and you just assign those layouts. Because what you need in a catalog is consistency. Yeah. So if you guys are struggling with Adobe tools, I think a good way to actually start practicing or putting your skills to use is that you tell yourself that, okay, I'm going to try designing for a brand that I really, really like. You want to create a poster for a certain brand that you really like. Or, for example, like me, some musicians reach out to me to launch their EPs, get their albums out there, do the photography, basically help them to shape them, as local artists. And I'm very, very glad to manage and help them grow in the local scene. So those came along as small projects that I got better at, especially with photography, like night photography. I'm terrible shooting people. My first 5 years of work, all I ever shot was just shooting food. It's always food because we're working in restaurants. So the event photos would come out blur, but I would just delete them and then we would salvage whatever we have. But most of the time I'm shooting food rather than people. So when I have to shoot bands, I took quite a bit of time to actually get the hang of taking nice shots for musicians and portraits and stuff. Yeah. Okay. Starting work in marketing before you spend a year doing music. Projects or commission work with regards to graphics. Yeah, I mean, that was what I mentioned earlier. I had quite a number of jobs from existing clients who just needed my help to create simple posters. For example, we're starting a new branch menu. Can you help us do the photo shoot and then add some graphics to it to actually turn it into a nice Instagrammable poster and something like that. All right. Do you think marketers are replaceable? Is it right to say that the barriers to entry are low? Random examples: lawyer with his own practice, researchers on that consulting firm, people can learn themselves, or they have no time for that. Marketers are okay. That's a fine line because I think I've been walking that line very, 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 very for a very long time, trying to understand both the design aspects of marketing and the publicity aspects of marketing, because in any given agency, you have the creatives and you have the PR team or the social media team. And that's where it's a little bit difficult to see how they work together. I mean, like for me, it's perfect, you know, I just do the design and I throw it out in a public space for people to see. But in most cases, I think marketers are not replaceable. Or you would say maybe the people who are doing strictly marketing, getting the material out there, that can be automated, but creative work itself, that's something that cannot be replaced. Yeah, because everybody has a different aesthetic sense. Some people like minimalist design, some people like something a little bit louder, more vibrant, that sort of thing. So I would definitely say that the barriers to entry are somewhat more attainable. It's not exactly low because there's a lot of things to learn. Yeah. So if you, like for example, starting out as my own freelance marketer, biggest issues I had was strictly with, and one of the challenges actually is, hang on, I wrote that down, time management and discipline. Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people struggle to juggle with. And self-discipline is going to be inevitable, trust me. For example, a younger me, basically, I was still playing music, I was running my own business, and I'm an avid gamer. So I spent a lot of time on PlayStation. And also back then, we were playing Dota and all that stuff. So it's you will start to realize that you have to give up a bit of your social life. And otherwise, it will be things like I would spend my day doing work, I'll play a show, and if after work we go for drinks, and sometimes I will realize that I haven't finished some work that I need for tomorrow. So when I'm done with drinks after work at 3 a.m., I have to go back and work till 6 a.m. Yeah, that's the kind of life I used to live. Sleepless nights. And now, my daily routine, it's a lot more structured. There's more commitments. I take care of my wife. I basically, who's also now currently work from home, I take care of all the meals and I still run my business. And, you know, basically there's a lot of juggling to do, but it really helps when you're organized. I'll share with you guys a few tools on how to stay organized later. All right, now I'm just going to clear up all the questions. Fluency in Adobe tools, it really depends on yourself. I had a lot of opportunities for practice in design. So basically, I got the hang of it in just 2 months. And by a 6-month mark, I think I was pretty proficient. Learning how to use stock photos, putting text to them, you know, making it look good, how to pair fonts and all that stuff. Okay, and how did you know this was what you wanted to go into, especially since you chose marketing as a career over being a musician? What was the process that made you make your eventual decision? It's really not so much one or the other. I still am a musician. It's been 16 years. I'm 32 years old this year, so yes, I've officially played music for half my life. And it's a very, 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 very interesting journey watching the music business grow. And you'll be surprised, some of my clients are from the bars. Like, I would play music for them and they would realize that I do websites and I do marketing, and they ask me to help them out. Yeah, so it's actually a good networking tool as you go around, because the biggest question we get asked a lot as musicians is, do we do this full time? And in most cases, it's a no. Yeah, most of us actually don't do music full time unless you are teaching in the day and playing music at night. Yeah. Okay, with tools like Wix and Canva increasingly going the no code, no design, drag and drop route, do you think the design aspect will be diluted as a need? Yes, it is still very viable. just because there's new tools that make it easy. I use new tools as well because actually I don't use Wix and Canva for design. My biggest tools I use for web design are through WordPress. About 90% of the sites that I build are WordPress. Sometimes it's Squarespace. And with WordPress, I'm using two types of page builders to actually speed up the whole process. One is WP Bakery's page builder, previously known as Visual Composer, and the other one is Elementor. I tried Elementor when it first came out. I hated it. It's a very clumsy kind of platform. But I just built a site based on Elementor 3 weeks ago, and it was a 2-day job. Yeah. So I have a lot of backup people for me to do coding and build custom solutions, but in most cases, I would have them build the difficult projects for me, and I would do the front-end designs. Because end of the day, design involves you knowing the human psychology. Like for example, when I build a website, what makes one website more user-friendly than another? It's the placement of the menu, the placement of the logo, understanding what the human eyes look at in the screen at any point in time. Yeah. And what catches attention more than the rest. Yeah. So if you have all these basic principles in, designing a website won't be too difficult actually. Things like understanding the use of space, that creates aesthetics and all that. Yeah. So even with drag and drop builders, they can be a little bit limited. So the trick to work around that is actually CSS in most cases. We actually use CSS a lot with these page builders. So that's how I've been creating functional websites for big clients, both big and small. Fitness First, a very big NGO called IIX Global, and all these companies. I've been basically working with IIX Global for about 5 years now. Since my last agency job, they followed me through. And yeah, when I left the company, the clients followed me. And Fitness First, I'm doing some of the event websites every year. Yeah, so I've got those contracts as well. And it's pretty interesting. There's no point. Why I don't advocate strongly on the coding aspect is because there's no point in reinventing the wheel. Yeah. If there are available and effectively working systems out there, you shouldn't be trying to build your own, because there is really no need for such an effort, but rather take a look at the designs and the aesthetics and focus on things like how fast a page loads and other aspects of cleaning up the website. Yeah. Any other questions?
Ooh. Maybe we just round up. Do you have any last words, Jerry?
Right. Okay. I've got just a few valuable lessons I think I can share with you guys. In a very quick nutshell, marketing is more than just nice designs and publicity and promotions. Much more. Know your strengths and weaknesses. I think that's actually the biggest lesson you will learn, because that means knowing your strengths and weaknesses will tell you what's your next move. Recognizing what you're really good at. Basically, if you love what you do, you know, a lot of people will tell you to just spend more time on it. But if you need other services, you should look for partners or outsource to people who are strong at it, and basically cover all the gaps. Yeah. Third thing, in the business world, I know we watch a lot of dramas where business people are quite vicious, but truth be told, just be nice, but don't be a pushover. Yeah, be nice, but don't be a pushover. So that's a little bit difficult, but never be scared to speak up. Okay, and yeah, as some of the biggest challenges, and oh yes, I wanted to share with you guys how I stay organized. I think this one is really important. I'm going to just share my screen, okay, very quickly. Do we still have time?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen with a very simple graphic I have here. Sorry. I apply this to everything I do. Okay, there we go. And yeah. So everything I do revolves around these 4 quadrants: urgent, not urgent, important, and not important. Yeah. Always work on things that are urgent first. I mean, this is for people who have staff and who are employed, but in most cases, I would say I try not to bother my partners or my part-timers because they're already up to their neck with work. And yeah, so it's very simple. If it's urgent, like for example, my client gives me a deadline, I need to settle this today, even though it is not an important task, because it could be as simple as just contacting one of the vendors. It is still urgent, so just get it out of the way first. Yeah, but always prioritize your urgent and important tasks first. Then you work through what's urgent and not important, and then after that you slowly work through the rest of the list. Yeah, so it goes very well in I do this with housework as well. Yeah, things like my wife has a craving for KFC, so if it's urgent, then I'll get it today. You know, that sort of thing. Yeah, yeah. I'll ask her, can it wait? Then she's like, no, I really want to eat now. Then I'm like, okay, then I'll go. You know, that sort of thing. Yeah, but that would fall into urgent. Yeah. So pretty much, yeah, that's how to stay organized. It really does help. And last thing I'm gonna tell you guys is, although I don't quite practice it so much, but I'm starting to actually discipline my clients. Don't overwork, because you're going to lose out on a lot of things that are important in life. So I've started to teach my clients and put forth to them and tell them that I don't work on weekends. So if you're going to send me any work, I'm just going to send to you on Monday or Tuesday night or Tuesday morning latest. Yeah, it's as good as telling me on Monday. Yeah, and also keep your hours fixed. You know, if you, especially on a work from home thing, if you don't keep your hours fixed, you're going to end up working 18 hours a day, and it will just kill you. Yeah, and it affects everybody around you. Yeah, yeah. Lastly, for those of you who are married, I think most of you already know, happy wife, happy life. Yeah. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys. I'm going to stop the screen share. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Jerry,
Thank you.
for sharing your journey with us. Your insights are really, really very valuable, especially the happy wife, happy life, even though never mind. If you have any further questions for Jeremiah, you can contact him via his LinkedIn or his Gmail.
We hope you liked the webinar. These are free and open sessions that we open to the public twice monthly, and receive news on them by subscribing to our mailing list on our website at www.hatch.sg. For those of you who are interested in our programs, you can also take a look at them on our website. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, and feel free to leave your comments or drop us a message if you'd like to find out more. We hope to see you at our next workshop.